video and all other videos on this channel are for entertainment purposes only. The content of this video and all other videos on this channel are the opinions of the creator only and do not constitute legal, trading, investment, or financial advice of any kind. Investing carries a high level of risk and the majority of retail clients lose money. Do not invest any capital unless you understand the risks and you are prepared to lose it all. Alright, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel and welcome to the week. Welcome to Monday. I have got quite a mixed bag today, so sit back, relax, hit that like button and let's get into this. We have finally reached my least favourite part of market cycles, and that is the everyone is an expert phase, or as Bob Lucas puts it, the I'm a genius trader stage. And remember, everybody is a genius in a bull market, okay? It's pretty difficult not to make money at the moment since all of the charts look like this. Unfortunately, this is only going to get worse the higher and higher the prices go and the richer and richer people get on paper in the short term. But as a friendly reminder, okay, it's easy to make money in trading. It is not easy to keep hold of it. We just had Janet Yellen resign. You can read into that what you will. I don't really want to make any speculations or guesses to this. It does remind me of that saying that when the ship is sinking, the rats jump out first, something akin to that. I probably completely butchered whatever that saying is, but it does kind of remind me of that. Now, that's not me trying to be distasteful and call Yellen a rat by any means, okay? I'm just thinking that possibly this person had a job, a task to do, and perhaps the task is now complete, okay? That's just the way my paranoid brain works, but again, I don't really want to spend any more time on that. I'll let you be the judge. As you know, if you've been here before, I'm quite the fan of speculating we live in a simulation because we see a bunch of simulation type things play out. When the QQQ, which is of course the ETF on the Nasdaq, launched around 1999, it did so between 48 and 49 and then rallied to 120 54 weeks later. It did take a month for it to break through the 100 level. It even fell back to 80 and 85 a couple of times. Now, here's why I said simulated. The Bitcoin spot ETF launched when Bitcoin was around 48k. 54 weeks later would be inauguration day. So what are the chances that Bitcoin rallies until mid-January along with Bitcoin dominance, and then we get Bitcoin USD correct like it usually does in January post-halving years, and then alt season begins? We also have Gary Gensler resigning on January the 20th. And for me, the big question here is, are we going to see the simulation repeat? Are we going to get those same kind of numbers with Bitcoin? Does it tell us to expect 120k Bitcoin by inauguration day? In other news, the UK's paper, The Times, has been discussing whether pensions should invest in Bitcoin. Pretty wild, right? Pretty wild. Heard them all in at the top. That's what I say. Meanwhile, Tether is going to partner with Cantor Fitzgerald and offer multi-billion-dollar Bitcoin-backed loans, meaning the rich will not actually have to sell their Bitcoin at the top. They'll be able to borrow against it and then probably use that borrowed money to buy more Bitcoin at the lows. These times continue to get more and more wild as what we see is increased speculation that the US is going to build a strategic Bitcoin reserve. We can see in the prediction markets are now pricing in a 62% chance of a strategic national Bitcoin reserve being built by 2026. Now for me, this begs the question, are they just going to accumulate all this Bitcoin above 100k? Or have we got some kind of blow off top, an extended bear market that takes us out to 2026, which of course is the next 4-year cycle low for Bitcoin? And do they use that extended bear market decline to buy all of the Bitcoin a lot lower? Time will tell, as always. Big news potentially coming out today for MicroStrategy, as Saylor is possibly going to announce the purchase of another 88,000 Bitcoin this morning. Okay, now if he does, that means they will own 420,000 Bitcoin in their treasury, which is 2% of the entire supply. Saylor apparently does not want to stop accumulating Bitcoin. I tell you what else is very interesting about this is, when I was talking about earlier, the everyone's an expert stage, right? Everyone's a genius. We have also reached sentiment extremes of MicroStrategy, wherein it is akin to blasphemy to even ask questions about this anymore. Going back when the price was half of what it is today, there was nothing wrong with asking people, hey, could MicroStrategy present some risk later in the cycle? Do you think possibly some of these notes that are getting offered, some of these bonds and that kind of thing, do you think possibly we could see an unwind? Do you think possibly people could be blindsided? If you ask those kind of questions when the price was half of where it is today, people had no problem having a conversation with you, right? They didn't take it personally. It was okay. It was just like, that's an interesting question. Maybe we should think about that. Where we are today is the moment you start to say this, people get visibly enraged, okay? Now, for me, that is a concern, particularly given that the chart is entirely parabolic. And one thing that the long-time viewers of the channel know is the thing I do best is gauge sentiment extremes. And right now, I am calling it, this is a sentiment extreme, okay? This will not last very much longer. And in hindsight, this is going to be insanely obvious, okay? The fact that we are no longer allowed to have a conversation, the fact that we're no longer allowed to ask questions, tells me that we are incredibly close to seeing MicroStrategy top. And if it does, remember that also implies, because MicroStrategy leads Bitcoin, that Bitcoin's top is much closer than people are willing to entertain. Let me show you, okay? Because when a camel on the internet says this, people want to jump up and down and go, oh, what do you know? What do you know? Let me show you just how severe this has gotten. This is Hugh Hendry. He's one of my favorite guys in this finance space for a number of reasons. Number one, he's very funny, he's interesting to listen to. Number two, he is an ex-hedge fund manager that does incredibly well when things go bang. He's also very eccentric and a bit wild, and I always take that as a marker of a genius or somebody that can perform at a very high level. I think you have to be a little bit mad to be extremely good in this craft. If you scroll down a few tweets, okay, you can see Hugh Hendry, remember, the acid capitalist, the guy that makes a killing when things go bang, has also spotted the same thing that I have, is also becoming increasingly concerned that we are in a bubble with MicroStrategy. And when I said about the sentiment extreme, notice how we're not allowed to have a conversation about this anymore. Okay, Hugh points out you can buy one coin, or with the same dollar amount, you can buy 1/3 of a coin via MicroStrategy. He also points here that this is a redux of GBTC. You can fool all of the people all of the time. The emergence of the liquid options market in Bitcoin will eliminate the MicroStrategy premium. The present strategy for equity buyers is the hope of selling at a wider premium. The convert guys are going to arb the absolute granny out of this. Those that hodl will be exterminated. And again, this is how hyperwaves complete with a return to phase one. All of this is going to make a lot of sense in hindsight, and once more, you're not allowed to talk about this apparently. And you can see this is exactly what I'm talking about. Hugh, I suggest you dig a little deeper. There is more merit to this than meets the eye. And this is exactly the problem with being human, is that we want to believe everything. We want to believe that this time is different. We want to believe that this is going to be the first parabolic advance that doesn't violate spectacularly to the downside. We want to believe this is going to be the first hyperwave that completes phase 4 and doesn't return anywhere close to the phase 1 target, which for MicroStrategy is $35. We want to sit here and say anyone that bad mouths this is completely fudding the price. And we can see that here, okay? Hugh is either sidelined and bitter or short and angry. That's what people are suggesting, okay? But remember, this camel has very, very unique bragging rights when it comes to MicroStrategy. Very few people can claim they bought the lows in front of a live audience. Very few people can do that. I did, okay? I traded the thing publicly the entire way up. I'm still holding that long from the lows. Very few people have that bragging right. Okay, very few people actually nailed what has so far been one of the trades of the decade. There's nobody more incentivized, since I'm holding a position from the lows, to see this thing do another 10x than me. Okay, I would benefit from this way more than almost every other market participant. But once again, okay, we're not allowed to have the conversation. Anyone that doubts this thing is sidelined and bitter or short and angry. Okay, this is incoherent babble from the cabal of insanity. Consider that 1 million position in MicroStrategy grants you just $300,000 of Bitcoin exposure. Again, apparently it's not like GBTC at all. GBTC had a premium because it couldn't create more shares. Allegedly, okay? But again, this is so ignorant. Accredited investors were issued stock in GBTC daily at par with a vesting period of 6 months. The problem started when that Broken Arrow fund accumulated 40 yards at par. 6 months later, the shadow of that overhang had eliminated the premium. The widening number of Bitcoin vehicles to gain exposure took the stock's premium to a great discount, and smart investors bided their time and bought it for a 60% discount to NAV when Bitcoin traded 20k. The parallels here are very, very striking. Smarter people than you and I are starting to look around and say, I don't think this is sustainable. Any technician that has ever traded a chart and a parabolic advance or a hyperwave in their entire life knows this thing is close to a top. And now we've got this crazy camel on the internet pointing at this and saying the sentiment has reached an extreme. In other news, this is hash rate and difficulty here in pink, okay? All-time highs. And can we go a lot higher in the short to medium term for Bitcoin? Yes, I absolutely think we can. What do you see here? Black is the current cycle. I think there's a lot of space to run to the upside, and there is a huge amount of money flowing into this Bitcoin network right around this price at 100k. One final thing I wanted to point out, because a lot of people were getting mad at me for suggesting that we might be closer to a top in the stock market than people are ready to entertain. I actually posted on Twitter and said that I don't think we get out of December without seeing the US equities top. Once again, sentiment is so extreme, nobody really asked me why. Nobody said, how come you think that? Can you share a chart? Blah, blah, blah. All people did was accuse me of being a LARP, get angry at me for suggesting we might top, tag me in other people's posts so that they could get me, right? And again, this is what tops look like. This is how sentiment swings to extremes. This is exactly the kind of thing that sees tops come in and blindside the majority of the market participants. And here we are with the S&P 500 market cap as a share of world GDP hit 46%. Really think about what it means to have the S&P 500 market cap at 46% of world GDP. Really think about what that means, okay? And yet we're early in this bull market, are we? We are early. This is the dot-com bubble. And you're telling me this is the early stages of a bull market? I don't believe it. Let me show you what else doesn't believe it. The dollar, okay? The dollar, to me, looks an awful lot like it is doing some kind of Wyckoff accumulation. This is what I think comes next. Sign of strength and a breakout, okay? And we've had this call for a very, very, very long time. That's what this yellow squiggle here suggests. This is the phase E. We are lining up a daily cycle low soon, and this is right translated, okay? So what does that tell you? That means we've confirmed the 3-year cycle low and the 15-year cycle low. We're getting ready to move this thing a lot higher. Again, whilst every man and his dog is on one side of the fence calling for a lower dollar, we're right in the middle of completing one of these Wyckoff accumulation schematics. Okay, we even got the spring and the breakdown after the creek, and now we have jumped across the creek. We are at the final portion of this move. Okay, what comes next here is a bit of consolidation and a breakout. And again, you're not allowed to have these conversations at the moment. Why aren't we allowed to have conversations about being open to possible downside scenarios anymore? Is nobody else concerned about this? Apparently not. Okay, but that's fine. And I guess that's because the majority of the people that are in the market now have only been here for a total of 2 or 3 months. Bitcoin, 98k and climbing. Let's go, okay? 100k. I thought we would hit it last week. We got pretty close. I may well use this as an opportunity to have a 100k live stream party if I can get round to it. We'll see how busy I am at the time that it breaks out. Gold looks pretty good, okay? Members know what to do, so that's all I'm going to say about that. And the stock market, let's see, right? Let's see if I am correct about this call. Very, very clear invalidation, okay? Get past my red arrow, and this is wrong. Get past my red arrow, and we can stay long and strong and keep cooking this market, keep milking the profits out of this market, no problem at all. But something like this plays out, and you better believe most people are not going to be able to survive it. They've been trained to buy the dip. They're going to be screaming, we're early in a melt up. We're going to distribute somewhere in this neighborhood, I would think, which gives Bitcoin a couple of weeks or perhaps a couple of months to have its blow off top move. And then I think we're all going to be able to look back at this top, this time that we're in, this everyone's an expert phase, the fact you're not allowed to have conversations about the dollar going up, the fact that people are calling me dogmatic for saying deflation is the risk. Welcome to the week. Welcome to Monday. Wild times to be alive. I'm your boy Camel. Peace.